Good evening and welcome to the Weekend Review here on CNC3. A special welcome to our viewers in North America joining us on the CIN network. More fallout from the Clause 34 controversy as this week, 4 government ministers and the leader of the Tobago Organization of the People, Ashwood Jack, sat down for a televised program in which they bashed the opposition leader, Dr. Keith Rowley.
Now if you listen to Mr. Rowley, Dr. Rowley, member for Diego Martin West, who cannot even walk in his constituency without supporters shouting and booing him.
Fresh from a political battering from the Section 34 debacle, with TOP leader Ashworth Jack present, it seemed to have kicked off the campaigning for the THA elections.
The political leader of the PNM is also from Tobago. So if that happens, and they lose the Tobago Assembly election, his integrity in terms of the political leadership of the PNM in general would not be called into question.
But a substantial portion of the airtime purchased was used to respond directly to opposition leader Dr. Keith Rowley and his scathing attack on government for the Section 34 controversy.
Keith Rowley has become desperate, and we have seen over the last few weeks in particular a level of hypocrisy from the PNM and Rowley that we had never seen before, at least that depth. When he was fired, Manning said he was a bitter man, desperate. Then he got a voice to speak out against allegations.
Primetime airtime was also used to do some media bashing.
You see his headline? See his headline?
Yes.
Ish, Steve, 176 million.
That's our
Ages,
story.
Now this headline is since January this year, but it gives the impression this was last week.
Even though the program from the government end had been promoted as one featuring various MPs and cabinet ministers discussing pressing issues in the country. The hour-long program dominated primetime television spots simultaneously across 5 networks: CNC3 Television, CCN TV6, CNMG, Win TV and IETV all broadcast a political program. But just how much did the 75 minutes cost and who paid for it?
By the next day, many questions were being asked as to where the funds came from to sponsor airtime on all television stations. They all came to dinner, but who would take the tab? Was it the state? No, says local government minister Dr. Suraj Ramachan.
No state funds are being used for those programs. That's a party program, and it is a program that will be funded by the party every Wednesday night on CNMG, and depending on the response of the other stations, we are prepared to also put it on the other stations. We are a political organization, and we are always planning for the future. This was planned long before the PNM meeting last night, and in fact it is something that we have launched in different ways. And what we did last night was decide that we are now going to go on the airwaves. It will also go on the radio, and there will be also a follow-up through the newspapers. So it is not something that is any reaction to the PNM.
A party event, but the People's Partnership is not a party. In fact, it is a coalition of 4 parties: the United National Congress, the Congress of the People, the Tobago Organization of the People, and NJAC, all separate entities.
As you saw on the platform last night, you had the TOP, you had the COP, and you had the UNC, the partnership.
So it's been funded by all 3 parties?
It's a party matter, but the answer to you, it's funded by the party.
But COP insiders are telling CNC3 that they played no part in the funding of the event and that the party's executive did not give approval for anyone to represent the party, as they sought to make a clear distinction of Minister Anil Roberts' role at the televised event, being there in his capacity as a minister and not as a COP representative. They say his views were not reflective of the party as a unit. And with regards to a massive rally to be held at Mid-Centre Mall in Chagonas on Saturday, Dr. Ramachan says the partnership's supporters called for the rally to show their support for the government.
The rally on Saturday is a rally that was called for by the activists and the supporters of the party when the Prime Minister had a meeting, a pre-budget meeting at her home in Philippines last Sunday evening. The objective of the rally, therefore, is for people to show the strength which this party has and the fact that they are not going to turn the clock back again. There's a good feeling among the supporters and activists of the People's Partnership. And if anyone is running scared, it is not the government of Trinidad and Tobago. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is on a roll because we know that what we are doing is to the satisfaction of the people.
However, by Friday, the Congress of the People distanced itself entirely from the process, saying that it gave no funds nor did it approve any of its members to sit on that panel. Also this week, opposition leader Dr. Keith Rowley says he will file a motion of censure against the Attorney General Annan Ramlogan.
No room for mediation, but time for action. This according to opposition leader Dr. Keith Rowley regarding the Section 34 controversy. Dr. Rowley had given an ultimatum to Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar to remove Attorney General Anand Ramlogan by Wednesday or face further action. But this has not been done. At a meeting of the People's National Movement in Aruca last night, Dr. Rowley disclosed his next plan of action to the nation.
I intend in the coming hours to file a motion of censure in the Parliament against the Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago.
Dr. Rowley claimed that A.G. Ramlogan did have a part to play in the Section 34 fiasco. He maintained that A.G. Ramlogan has many questions to answer and will be made to do so on the last Friday in October.
I will read into the records in the Parliament every detail of the timelines of what they have done for posterity. And when I'm through with that, I will ask them all to stand up in front of you on television live and vote for or against an Attorney General so accused.
He said the motion will then be raised in the Senate and, if necessary, the Tobago House of Assembly. The opposition leader also revealed that a special General Council meeting of the PNM has been called for Sunday morning at 10 o'clock to discuss a further plan of action, and he also responded to a request for a meeting from the Joint Trade Union Movement.
But before that, before I go to the General Council, I will lead a team to meet with these citizens who lead important organizations in this country. I will be there on Friday at 4 o'clock.
MSJ leader David Abdullah, as well as other civil society organizations, will also be a part of the talks.
Meanwhile, Attorney General Anand Ramlogan is removing himself entirely from the Clause 34 controversy, saying that the dismissed Minister of Justice, Herbert Volney, was the one squarely to blame. The Attorney General says yes, he was at the cabinet meetings that oversaw the process for an early proclamation of Section 34, but he maintains that dismissed Justice Minister Herbert Volney was entirely leading the process. He says as AG, he came from a career of civil and not criminal matters, and that criminal legislation fell to Mr. Volney.
Although the Attorney General is the legal advisor to the Cabinet, when we created the Ministry of Justice, the criminal portfolio was assigned to that ministry, and the gazetted allocation of ministerial responsibility placed criminal legislation and the reform of the criminal justice system under that particular ministry. That meant, therefore, that the staff with the expertise in criminal law will go to that ministry.
But he is the legal advisor to the cabinet on all legislation.
I can give advice with the benefit and support of the staff in the public service that will be resident within any ministry. No minister can act without the advice and guidance of the support staff that he has in the ministry. So yes, I can give advice on a wide range of matters to the extent that I can get the support and from the expertise that is resident within the ministry, and that applies across the board for all ministers.
Mr. Ramlogan says the legislation slipped by everyone in the cabinet because of how the cabinet note brought by Minister Volney was worded.
The way the note was cast and the way it was couched is that this was a prelude and part of the foundation. It was part and parcel of the implementing the promises and assurances which were given in the Parliament. And if you read the paragraph, you will see that one got the impression that, look, this is in fact part of the implementation process that is necessary to operationalize the rest of the Act. So that when looked at from that perspective, one can well understand why people bought into it.
On that basis, he sees no reason for anyone else to be removed from the cabinet.
He accepted full responsibility for the matter. He, having said as a line minister that he accepted full responsibility for the matter, I think it is really now down to political gamesmanship to now call for the head of anybody else.
This is the Weekend Review. We have a lot more when we come back. Welcome back to the Weekend Review. The country has a new Justice Minister. It is Crystalline Moore of Tobago. She came into office taking the oath of office on Wednesday, saying that she will bring to the table moral and spiritual values. The oath that brings her into the cabinet, into the seat of dismissed Justice Minister Herbert Falney, and into focus as a member of a government from which critical answers are being sought on the Clause 34 controversy. And perhaps that is why, in a well-worded prepared statement, new Justice Minister Crystalline Moore makes a point of it. She's bringing moral and spiritual values to the table.
A sense of community, a sense of identity, and a commitment to fairness and justice, a commitment to efficiency, integrity, and moral and spiritual values.
Some of the faces she will see across the cabinet table are known to her, very well known, having acted as an attorney for Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar and Attorney General Anand Ramlogan, the briefs of whom she surrendered just days ago to allow her to take this position. She says her former clientele speaks volumes of her effectiveness.
It is quite telling that among my clients would have been listed the Attorney General and the Prime Minister. Not many attorneys could boast of a clientele so august.
So what are her plans? She'll continue where her predecessor left off.
Commit to moving the ministry forward, reforming the criminal justice process, and continuing where my predecessor left off.
Moore is now the fourth female cabinet member joining the Prime Minister, Marlene Kudre and Caroline Sipasad-Bejan, and according to the Prime Minister, the first person born in Tobago to sit on a National Security Council.